All right, welcome back to the Liberating Joy in Learning podcast. I'm Robert Beckstrand, and last time we began a discussion of the owning our failures and successes primary lens. And today we're going to discuss the courage found in owning and how it helps us avoid shame. Now, owning both failures and successes helps you strengthen your honesty and courage in working toward your learning claims. Clarity requires honesty, and facing weaknesses and strengths, like a soldier headed to battle, requires courage. With this courage, we increase our ability to face our weaknesses and our strengths and utilize them both to achieve the learning we seek. As we use clarity and courage to understand these oppositions, we can find balance between even our strongest failures and successes. So the first question we have is, what are the similarities that you see between failures and successes? And the next question would be, what are the differences between the two?
Right. So they're both intense.
Right. They are.
Right. Very strong feelings of,
right.
When you fail, you feel awful.
Right.
And when you succeed, you feel great.
Right.
But it's intense on both sides.
Right. And I think another similarity is they both engender, there's a big word for you, and they can engender a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
Which isn't always the best thing. With a failure, you may think, I got to change, and you try to do something completely different when that may not be the best thing to do.
Right.
Same thing with a success. You may think, well, this is what I need to do from now on, where, again, it may not be the best thing to do.
Right. It's intense, and it requires a lot of courage for both of them.
Right. To accept them and learn from them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, differences.
Well, clearly, like, successes are things we seek for, right? They feel good.
Right.
And failures don't.
Right.
Like, it's miserable.
Right.
It's a miserable feeling. And it's amazing to watch, like baseball. Rob likes baseball.
Right.
and when they strike out, like, they just kind of shake it off, right? And
right.
that's a skill they've had to learn, right?
Yes.
That courage to face that,
right.
especially on that kind of a scale.
Right.
That always kind of amazes me, because I would not be able to walk off like that.
All right, so how has facing and owning both failures and successes brought you more clarity and courage?
It's going to make all of the other primary lenses better,
right.
easier, more effective, right? The more you own your failures and successes, the more effective all of the other primary lenses are.
Right. Right.
And in a nutshell, that's really, that's what happens, and
right.
and it's a cyclical process. As you get better at
right.
this one, then that helps you get better at the other one, but then it comes back, and you
right.
continually improve your ability to own your failures and successes
right.
as you get better at all the other ones.
Right.
Because they shine new light on things, so you understand
right.
yourself better as you understand,
right.
as you use the other primary lenses.
Right.
So my experience with owning has become the safe place where I face the failures and weaknesses that I feel are the biggest or the key hindrances to growth. They are where I feel discomfort in my learning that I'm ready to let go of. I also celebrate big and small successes or strengths in my growth. In my weekly efforts to follow Jesus Christ, I find it most effective to clarify my failures and successes the very first thing Sunday morning, recording them just after reading my scriptures before doing anything else. So before I turn my phone on,
right.
And I have to do it without anyone else around.
Okay.
I just have to be able to focus
right.
on myself and ponder, the best
right.
one.
Okay.
Owning failures takes a lot of courage, clarity, and intuition. However, like cleaning a messy room, the peace afterwards is amazing. In every case, it's a relief to claim failures, because recognizing what is keeping me from growth is incredibly liberating.
Right.
This is especially true knowing that I don't need to immediately seek a knee-jerk response to either my failures or successes,
right.
as we've discussed
right.
before, right? I trust the power of recognizing failures, because I know it's all a liberating part of the order and power of each of the primary lenses.
Right.
So it's just one piece of it.
Right.
And I can trust it. I can focus on just that one thing,
right.
because I know everything else will meet the other needs that I have with my
right.
learning.
Right.
So strengths can be trickier, but over the years I've learned to allow myself to celebrate even the small successes, granting them the valued status they deserve, even if they seem contradicted by the failures I've just barely identified.
Right.
Quite often, they're right
Right.
The same thing.
Right.
But I've found value in doing that. It's kind of like two sides of the same coin. I'm going to own both sides.
Right.
And there's value in that.
Right.
So, like failures, successes are also improved upon with gentle support from the other primary lenses. My careful focus on owning sidesteps the shame that so often clings to learning and growth in debilitating ways.
And I think that's the big thing with this primary lens that is so important is quite often, like we said, if you have a failure, the knee-jerk reaction is to give up or to throw out whatever you've been working on.
Or with successes, keep doing that one thing, but then you miss out on other opportunities.
Right, you close off the opportunities for further growth in newer and better ways.
Right.
And I think that's the most important part of owning these is it gives you space to calmly analyze and recognize what worked and what didn't work that will allow you to keep growing on your learning endeavors.
Right, beyond those successes and beyond those failures, beyond both. Life is full of both failures and successes when we take time to look for them. I usually list 2 of each. I also usually list the failures and successes that most loudly call for my attention and that seem to promise the most reward for my immediate attention.
Okay.
It's so important to recognize the key ones, right? I'm not going to pick ones that are just going to make me feel more shame.
Right.
I want ones that I feel like I'm really ready to face head on.
Right.
If I'm not ready to face it on, if I don't feel like I understand it well enough, then I pick something else.
Right.
So what failures do you see in relation to your learning claims? What failures have you
Well,
experienced?
I've discussed in this series of podcasts my efforts to learn and play the guitar as an example. And there are some times where, I'm trying to learn like the F chord. Everybody talks about how difficult and how terrible the F chord is. And it's a pain in the butt and fingers to try to learn the fingering for that chord because it's so difficult. You're smiling because you don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's those that listen. If you try to play the guitar, you know what the F chord is. It's a pain in the butt to try to learn, and that one I really struggle with. But a knee-jerk reaction would be, I can't play the guitar. I'm just going to give it up, and that is a failure. That again, it is a failure in the fact that I still haven't picked it up, but I'm learning tricks as I go through my practicing. I see a little bit of improvement as I learn different tricks to overcome that failure, and I'm not given a knee-jerk reaction to say I'm going to give up. I'm not going to do it. When I was a kid, I tried to learn to play the French horn when we moved to Panaca because I couldn't play the cello anymore, and that I kind of regret giving that up. Part of it was because I had a terrible music instructor that didn't inspire me. I mean, I was 12 years old, and she was not fun to be around. And when I felt like I couldn't do it, I just give it up. And that was it. And I got away from music for a number of years because I didn't have an instrument to play before I started singing.
Yeah.
And so that was a knee-jerk reaction to a failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, for my part, I enjoy playing the piano, but there's just I've hit this wall, and I don't really care to work harder at it.
Yeah.
And I don't play for other people very well.
Right.
I don't play. It's got to be kind of the advanced beginner, and that's kind of all I can do. And honestly, I don't care. But that is a failure. And I think sometimes if I really wanted to move past that, I would have to go to a teacher, right? I had a teacher as a kid up through junior high, and then it just wasn't something I wanted to do anymore.
Right.
And I just know, if I want to get past that, I'm going to have to go to a teacher and say, hey, what do I do? I've hit this wall.
But a question I have for you then is that a failure if it's not something that's important for you to learn?
Oh, see, now that's semantics, right?
Right.
Okay. It's still a failure. Like, I have not succeeded. But again, you're right. If it's not a learning desire anymore, then you have just shifted, you've pivoted. Or
you're in a different season then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that's important to you right now.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future you come back and you do go after it.
So, but another failure would be, when we've talked a lot about disc golf, and I get so frustrated when I make the same mistakes over and over and over again. I read an article a short time ago about a person who picked it up and within a year was winning tournaments and things like that. And they said in the article, it was because she was able to see what somebody's doing and just replicate it.
Right.
And that's clearly not what I can do.
Right.
So, we have those failures, and and we just have to find a way around them. But
Right.
the point is, just own them.
Right.
Right now, we're just talking about owning
Right.
them.
Yeah, we're not making changes. We're just realizing that they're there and that they have value.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so, what successes do you see in relation to your learning claims?
Well, getting back to my guitar analogy, yes, I've had a failure learning to play the F chord, but because I'm recognizing what I'm doing wrong and picking up ways to do it better, do it correctly. When you play the guitar, everybody's hands are different. They got longer fingers, shorter fingers, stubbier fingers, whatever, and everybody has to figure out a way to get the fingering that's comfortable for them.
Right.
That's what as I've been studying, as I've been practicing, different people have said, there's different ways to do it. Figure out what's comfortable. I mean, this is the way that you're supposed to, and you get to it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to overcome that by practicing the first thing and not give up, because it is a learning desire that I have to learn to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And so that's helping me get over that failure.
Yeah.
It's not a success yet, but it is. I'm trying to get over it.
It's a small success,
Yes.
right? It's still a success.
Because I'm not giving up on it.
No, yeah, right?
Right.
And you can just own the fact that, hey, I'm still plugging along at this.
Right.
For me, a couple weeks ago, I saw a need with my disc golf to adjust my approach.
Right.
And so I watched some videos on it, and I was able to improve it. Now, again, my abilities playing disc golf improve very, very slowly.
Right.
But I'm making that small success. Like
that's it.
watching those videos and practicing that, there was a couple of things that over the last 6 weeks, 2 months, that I've slowly been applying. And so it's so important to value that success and understand it from the perspective of, I don't have a teacher, I'm just playing on the weekends or whatever, and value that success.
Right.
Right. So when I'm progressing in my ability to own my failures and successes, I feel better able to face my failures, nurture small, even fleeting successes, understand my failures, understand that my failures don't need quick solutions, and understand that my successes don't need more self-discipline to keep them thriving. So this is a question for all of you. What benefits to simply owning and not immediately fixing have you seen?
Right.
So ponder that. Think about that, right? What is the value of just owning it and not trying to fix it right away?
Right.
So I have found great value in learning to own my failures and successes, and I know that you will too as you keep at it. Next time, we'll move past owning, which is a huge leap in and of itself, right?
Right.
And learn about the fourth primary lens, stretching upward, inward, and outward, as we continue this amazing journey to understand fundamental principles of learning. In the meantime, send any questions or comments to learningliberated@gmail.com or share with us in our Learning Liberated Facebook group. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with someone else.
Right. Bye.